Let's rewind to May 2025, a month that will go down in internet history as the time the world decided almost overnight that Ford Motor Company was finished. It was a moment when rumors, speculation, and digital hysteria collided, creating a perfect storm that swept across social media feeds and news sites everywhere. It all started with a single sensational headline: Ford shuts down all U.S. operations. The words were bold, shocking, and impossible to ignore. Within minutes, screenshots and links were being shared at lightning speed, pinging from group chats to public forums. The claim was pure fiction, but it spread like wildfire. People didn't stop to check the facts, they just reacted. The story was too juicy, too dramatic, and too easy to believe in a world primed for bad news. Suddenly, everyone was mourning Ford online. Your aunt on Facebook, your cousin on TikTok, even your favorite news sites. The internet became a digital wake, with people reminiscing about their first Ford, sharing memes, and speculating about what would happen next. What began as a minor story about one factory's temporary closure quickly snowballed into a national panic. Local news picked it up, amplifying the confusion, and soon, the story was everywhere. People were furious, convinced Ford was betraying America. Online forums exploded with outrage, and heated debates broke out in living rooms and comment sections alike. The truth didn't matter. The emotional story was too powerful. People clung to the narrative, sharing their anger and sadness, even as official statements tried to set the record straight. This was misinformation at its loudest, a blunt, viral lie that preyed on nostalgia and fear. Old Ford commercials resurfaced, fueling the sense of loss, while the fake news stamp struggled to keep up. It was a masterclass in how a simple, dramatic headline can hijack public opinion. The more people saw it, the more real it felt, regardless of the facts. In the digital age, a viral story, true or not, can feel more real than reality itself. The noise drowns out the truth, and suddenly, perception becomes reality for millions. And that's how Ford died online, without ever closing its doors. The company kept building cars, the lights stayed on, but for a brief moment the internet had written its obituary, and millions believed it. The fake headline hit, and panic followed instantly. In a matter of minutes, what started as a single tweet snowballed into a digital wildfire. Notifications buzzed, screens lit up, and people everywhere stopped what they were doing to check the news. The sense of urgency was palpable, as if the world had just shifted beneath everyone's feet. Social media became a digital wake. People posted photos of their old Fords, shared memories, and grieved a company that was still alive. Hashtags trended worldwide, and timelines filled with nostalgia and disbelief. Some users wrote heartfelt tributes, while others demanded answers, tagging journalists and Ford's official accounts. The collective mourning was so intense it felt like the end of an era, even though nothing had actually happened. Ford employees got frantic texts. "Do you still have a job?" Friends and family reached out in a panic, desperate for reassurance. Inside the factories and offices, confusion reigned. Rumors spread faster than official updates, and workers wondered if their livelihoods were really at risk. Dealerships fielded calls from worried customers. Some asked if their warranties were still valid, others wondered if they should cancel orders. Sales teams scrambled to calm nerves, but the uncertainty was contagious, and every unanswered question fueled the fire. The rumor created real-world chaos, all from a single tweet. Offices buzzed with speculation, and crisis meetings were called. Even those who didn't care about cars felt the ripple effects, as the story dominated group chats and water cooler conversations. The emotional core was loss. Ford wasn't just a car company, it was part of people's lives. For many, Fords were tied to family road trips, first cars, and lifelong memories. The idea of losing that legacy struck a deep chord, uniting strangers in shared anxiety and sadness. Logic took a back seat. Grief and outrage drove the story. People argued online and in person, some blaming the media, others blaming Ford itself. The facts were lost in a storm of emotion, as fear and anger drowned out reason. Even the stock market wobbled as trading bots reacted to the viral panic. Automated systems picked up on the trending news, triggering sell-offs and sudden drops. Investors watched in disbelief as their portfolios took a hit, all because of a rumor. A few viral posts managed to spook Wall Street, proving how digital lies can have real financial consequences. Billions of dollars were at stake, and the line between online fiction and real-world impact blurred in real time. This wasn't just a prank, it was a demonstration of how easily misinformation can shake reality. In a hyper-connected world, a single tweet can spark chaos, upend lives, and remind us all how fragile the truth can be. So where did this all begin? Let's rewind to the very start and see how a single, simple fact can spiral out of control. It began with something almost mundane, a tiny truth, barely newsworthy on its own. Ford's Louisville assembly plant was scheduled for a temporary shutdown. The reason? Routine retooling, a standard process in the auto industry to prepare for new models or update equipment. Think of it like a bakery closing for a day to deep clean the ovens or swap out old mixers. It's a normal part of keeping things running smoothly, not a sign of trouble. But then, the story took a turn. Partisan blogs and websites, always hungry for clicks, twisted the facts. Suddenly, headlines screamed, "Major Ford plant shuts down amid economic crisis." The original context was lost, replaced by a sense of looming disaster. Social media influencers jumped on the bandwagon. They shared the story but left out the boring details. Instead, they amped up the drama, making it sound like Ford was in serious trouble. In no time, Ford is shutting down its factories, morphed into Ford shuts down all US operations. The message got more extreme with every share, every retweet, every video. Each retelling made the story bigger, scarier, and more urgent. People started talking about it everywhere, at cafes and offices, on group chats, spreading worry and confusion. Crucial details, like the shutdown being temporary and planned, vanished from the conversation. The truth was edited out, replaced by speculation and fear. The result? Pure, viral fear. People who had never even heard of the Louisville plant were suddenly convinced the entire auto industry was collapsing. This is the classic recipe for disinformation. Start with a fact, inflate it, strip away the context, and wrap it all in emotion. It's a formula that works every time, especially in our fast-paced digital world. In less than a single day, what began as a routine factory update snowballed into a so-called national crisis. News outlets picked up the story, each one adding their own spin, making it seem even more urgent. All because the boring, ordinary truth was replaced by a blockbuster lie, one that was far more exciting and far more dangerous. And to think, it all started with a plant simply getting ready to build a new car, a small fact blown up into a national panic. Time for reality. Ford wasn't collapsing, it was upgrading. The Louisville plant paused for a few weeks to install new equipment for the next year's models. Workers weren't fired, most trained on new tech or took vacation. The union and Ford had planned it for months. Meanwhile, every other Ford factory in the US was running as usual. No mass layoffs, no closures, no corporate exodus. In fact, Ford was investing billions in new American factories and electric vehicles. The viral rumor was the opposite of the truth. The real story? Routine maintenance and strategic investment. But that doesn't go viral. Outrage does. The hoax worked because it was simple, dramatic, and emotionally satisfying. The truth was about manufacturing logistics. The lie was a disaster movie. Guess which one people shared? Let's dismantle the hoax with facts. Ford's official channels quickly denied the shutdown rumors. The United Auto Workers Union backed them up, confirming the shutdown was temporary and planned. No mass layoffs, no collapse. Ford's financial reports showed profits and new investments, not bankruptcy. The company was building new factories, not closing them. The original rumor came from unreliable, sensationalist websites. A quick fact check would have exposed their history of misinformation. The evidence was everywhere, if anyone bothered to look. The problem wasn't a lack of facts, it was that the lie was more exciting than the truth. People wanted a dramatic story, not a boring reality, and that's why the hoax spread. Why did this story go viral? Blame the algorithms. Social media platforms reward engagement, not accuracy. Outrage and shock get more clicks than facts. The Ford hoax was tailor-made for this system, simple, emotional, and easy to share. Algorithms pushed it into more feeds, creating a feedback loop of panic. Echo chambers made it worse. People saw the story from friends who already distrusted big corporations. When everyone in your network shares the same news, it feels true. We're wired to love dramatic stories with clear villains and victims. The truth about retooling and supply chains is boring. Social media serves us the digital junk food we crave, even if it's bad for us. The Ford hoax was irresistible, and the platforms amplified it. That's how misinformation wins. So how do we fight back? Build better habits. First, pause before you share. If a headline makes you angry or scared, that's a red flag. Check the source. Is it a reputable news outlet or a sketchy blog? Read beyond the headline. Don't let clickbait do your thinking. If there's no article or no credible source, be skeptical. Do a quick search. Are major news outlets reporting the same story? If not, it's probably false. This is called lateral reading. Open a new tab, check other sources. It takes seconds and is your best defense against lies. Be curious, be skeptical, and share facts, not fiction.